We are joined by Victoria Cooper, CVA. She's a wealth advisor with Centric Wealth. She has a great experience working in investments and investment management and commercial damages analysis. So, Victoria, we've got a couple of questions for you to help our audience on the entrepreneurial journey. So, how can one swiftly transition from an employee to an entrepreneur, and how to handle that?
Well, there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. My family has done both. So just kind of an example, my husband transitioned basically from car sales into roofing, and it was a commission paying job. So he didn't have income for about 12 months. Well, with my background, I'd always been a W-2 employee and didn't realize what was going to happen.
Mhm.
And so our income got cut in half. We didn't change any of our living expenses. Um, and it really hurt us from a financial perspective. And it was a really difficult time for us. And it's still, a hole we're digging out of today. And then when I made my transition, I left consulting to become a financial planner, and I went from 100% salary to 100% commission. Well, we really developed a plan for me to transition, and it's key. We stopped putting money towards our debt, started putting it into savings, and really building up a nice nest egg to make the transition. And cut our living expenses. We moved into a less expensive rental. We cut activities for the kids. We just really pared down our lifestyle, and then used our money wisely, because it wasn't just the big leap. Then there were also many transitions we had to go through throughout the next year or so, when debts would come due, like student loans that we had put into forbearance came due. Well, what happens? And there was a lot of praying, and just God would bless us with, I would sell a big life insurance policy, and then we put most of it into savings again and live as little as we can, right? And just spread that as much as possible, until the transition was full and my income was at a point where what was coming in and what was going out, we were finally breaking even. And then eventually the point now where we have discretionary income again that we can start paying off the student loans with again.
Oh, yes, that's great. And what should our financial expectation be during a transition as the business continues and it grows?
Well, with the transition, there are two different ways to do it. And one is the cold turkey way, like I did it, where you just leave your job and then you just start the next day at your next job, right? As an entrepreneur. And the other way is that you can slowly transition. So you can kind of, start dipping your foot in the water, kind of start building your business on the side, and make the financial transition a little bit slower. But you will eventually get to a point where your job is not as important to you, and your business is now taking up much more of your time. And so then you take the rest of the leap and everything. With that being said, the I lost my train of thought.
No worries. Take your time.
um, can you repeat the question?
Um, yeah, what should be our expectations, be when we're growing our business?
Yes. So on the expectation side, it really just depends on the industry, how long it's going to take you to ramp up your income. So most industries, they say 12 months. And, I didn't believe my husband, and it was really 12 months. On the financial services side, it's actually 3 to 5 years. And you can't shortcut any of these things, because it's about building relationships and trust and everything. Kind of one of those overachiever type people, and I was like, oh, I can do it faster. And I've done it pretty quickly, just based on my experience and background and everything. But there's still an element of it that takes time. And like I said, most industries, you're looking at 12 months to really ramp up your income. So it's really important to be budgeting and planning from a financial perspective for a long period of time of little to no income.
Yeah, that leads me to the next question. What can you advise on budgeting and having a financial plan? Because a lot of people just go into straight into having a business without any financial plan. They might have a business plan, but not a financial plan.
Right. And it's not just a financial plan for the business, but also a financial plan for the household. Right. And so it's really important to establish a budget. And a budget is really just a plan for your money. You telling it where to go, where you need it to go, so you can make sure you cover the things that are really important while you're in this transition period. And I have my freebie is a flyer that is related to budgeting tips and tricks, because you should always be constantly budgeting, especially when you're taking the big leap in your transition. But then you will go through many transitions within the business. And those can be, your business is growing so much that you may need to hire an employee. So what does that look like for you? How much are you going to have to pay them, and everything? And what are you going to have to sacrifice on the financial side? But you're going to be leveraging your time more, and your business will start making more money because you can only work so many hours.
Yeah.
So when you start hiring other people, now you have more resources to help you do the work, to make more money for the company, but you are going to have to sacrifice some of that to be able to pay them.
Yeah.
So it's important to have a plan established on how much you're going to pay them, along with what's coming into the business, and then how is that going to adjust as your business makes more and more money.
Yes, that's really great and valuable advice you give there. um, when you're running a business, you come across all different sorts of problems, and one of them is that people are not paying or delaying payments. What would you advise on that?
Um, that's kind of when you have to start putting your foot down on people, and be a little bit more forceful. And I know, especially for women, it's usually more difficult. We just have that more nurturing sense, and we want to be nice and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes you do get to a point where if people aren't paying you, you really have to put your foot down. And you may lose them as a client, but they weren't meant to be your client. And another thing along those lines is you really need to know your worth. A lot of women don't charge as much as they really should. And it's really knowing your worth, the value you provide to your clients and the services that you provide, and how much they're really worth. And it's important to charge that. You will get the customers that you want to have, not the customers that, it's hard in the beginning because you want to have as many customers as you can to get the business up and running. But you'll be thankful in the end that your clientele is made up of the type of customers you want to have and that you want to work with.
Fantastic. Great. And what are the best sources to gain knowledge about managing your finances?
So we work with a lot of small business owners, and we recommend that they all work with a team. And that team consists of a financial planner, a CPA, and a business attorney. Because there are a lot of pitfalls out there from a financial perspective, especially taxes. My husband and I did go through that one. We just didn't establish our S corp in time, and we ended up with a $30,000 tax bill one year.
Wow.
And there are ways to really mitigate these things, but you really have to work with the experts, and experts that have your best interests at heart and understand these things and the ins and outs, the taxes, knowing, how much income is coming in, how much is going out, and how do we manage all of that. And so we do really recommend that people work with a whole team of experts. Yeah, you're going to pay for it, but in the long run, you're going to save a lot more money.
Great. I've got a bonus question for you from me.
All right.
Do you pay yourself first, or do you leave that payment last, or how do you budget?
So we follow a zero-based budget in my household, and it's kind of like paying yourself first. I assign every dollar before the month even starts. So I know where every penny is going. And so since we are still paying down debt, basically I have a P&L, a profit and loss spreadsheet for my household. I treat my household like a business. That was the best decision I ever made. And when you do that, I see where every penny's going, and then I see what's left over. And then once I see how much is left over, I assign that to whatever we're trying to pay down that month. And that's truly how we operate, and we have found a lot of success. And then once all our debt is gone, obviously that residual income at the end of the month will start going into investing and saving and everything, because you really only have two buckets your money can go into, and it's investing and saving, or it's expenses and debt. And unfortunately, most people these days, most of their money is going towards expenses and debt. So it's really kind of cleaning that up and then being able to really pay yourself. From a business perspective, you want to make sure that you're reinvesting into the business. So sometimes that means you will delay getting a paycheck, but if you are budgeting and working on a plan, you should be able to do that. Just because if you do not reinvest back into the business, it's not going to build and grow the way you want it to.
Fantastic. I love the idea of having two buckets.
Yes. It's just trying to think about money as simple as we possibly can, because we try to complicate it so much. And that's really when the failure comes with managing finances, especially personal finances. And so we went through it ourselves, and I just don't like to see other people go through it. And that's why I do what I do.
Fantastic. And the last question is, it's not even a question, that you have a gift for our audience today.
Yes. So as I said earlier, my freebie is a flyer that is related to tips and tricks for budgeting. And so these are things they're focused towards a household, but you can also apply some of these concepts to the business as well.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for your time and for your brilliant advice and tips and tricks and all your ideas. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.